In today's video, I am reviewing Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. It is a new series on Netflix. I'm sharing with you 5 key takeaways and answering the question of whether or not you still need to read the book, and also if it's worth the investment to buy her organizing storage boxes. Hi, I'm professional organizer Katherine Lawrence. I help you live a life with less clutter so you can have space for the things that truly matter. So the Tidying Up series is 8 episodes that run between 35 and 45 minutes, so it is totally binge-worthy. Now, this is a follow-up to her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and she also wrote a book called Spark Joy. Now, this book was published in 2014, and it created just a global phenomenon in people decluttering their houses and getting organized. The thrift stores even reported an increase in donations because of people using the system. So there's got to be something to it. So the first takeaway in this whole Konmari system is that it is a mindful practice to go through your belongings. So you'll see this in the episodes when she greets the house, which is this little ceremony that she does. Sometimes the homeowners participate, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's a little awkward, but it's just to have a mindful connection with the house. Also, she has a method which is to say thank you to the things that you are letting go of. So you're not just going to take your donations and kind of cast them off or throw them in the trash. You're actually going to thank them for their service and then put them kind of gently into a donation bin. And when you're feeling overwhelmed during the process, one of her mindfulness techniques is to just take a deep breath. And let me tell you, I think everyone gets overwhelmed in this process on the show. There are definitely tears. Most people are crying at the process of letting go of all that decluttering. So it's very emotional. So this mindfulness step of just taking a deep breath when you feel overwhelmed, when you're feeling emotional, can just reset yourself and calm you down so you can continue in the process. And the last mindful practice that you will see in the episodes is the concept of being very non-judgmental. Don't judge your partner, don't judge your kids, and don't judge yourself for, making bad decisions or spending a lot of money on something. Just take judgment out of it and focus on letting go and moving on. The second takeaway from the show is something I call you have the magic. So unlike makeover shows that you've seen, these extreme makeovers or the hoarding show, there's not a big crew of people that come in and do this for you. And I call this takeaway you have the magic because in one of the episodes, the wife and mother keep saying, oh, you'll just work your magic. We'll just use your magic and we'll kind of take care of all this, or you're going to take care of it. And it's funny because Marie Kondo sits them down on the sofa and says, this isn't my magic. This is something you are going to do. And so that is a huge lesson in all of this, because unlike working with a professional organizer in America, she doesn't really spend a lot of time doing hands-on organizing with the clients in the show. She gives them a little lesson, gives them some instruction, and then she leaves and she comes back in a week or 2 weeks. So they're really doing the process themselves. It's not something that's being done to them. And it's a process that really takes time. There's a little day counter as you're going through the episodes. So it'll say like day 10, day 15, day 30. That is to represent how long it takes to do this. And it's not something that someone is going to do for you in 3 days, like an episode of Hoarders. It's something that you are going to take time and physically touch every object that you own in your house and make a decision. So depending on how many things you have, that's going to take a long time. And the third takeaway from the show is that she's going to continue to emphasize the lessons from the book. And there are 5 lessons in the book. And they have to do with the order in which you should tidy or declutter your items. And the order for tidying is clothing first, then books, then papers, then what she calls Komono or miscellaneous items, and then sentimental items are last. And for the lessons, I would recommend that you follow along in the book or read the book first, because she doesn't do a lesson in every episode. So it's a little confusing if you're not familiar with the method, because she'll start with lesson 1, clothing, and I think every episode addresses clothing, and then you'll just skip to lesson 4. If you want to kind of understand the lessons in sequential order and why they're important, I would recommend picking up the book. And as I mentioned, pretty much every episode gets into clothing because that is lesson 1. But she did something a little different for the show, which is she requests that the participants take out all their clothing and pile it on the bed. So every article of clothing from every closet, every drawer, and put it on the bed. Now, I was a little shocked by this because I remember in the book that she talked about actually sorting your items first. And that's what I would do as a professional organizer if I was working with you, is that we would pre-sort those items. So you would look at all of your skirts and all of your dresses and all of your pants as a category, and then you can go through the motions of deciding if they make you happy, if they spark joy. But it can be really overwhelming to just look at all of your clothes at once. And so on page 65, she does talk about the tidying order and says that she recommends dividing further into the following subcategories just to increase efficiency. And she says tops, bottoms, socks, underwear, that type of thing. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by that big mountain of clothing that is in every episode, don't worry, you can break it down a little further into categories and still do the same process. Pick up the item and decide if it sparks joy. But I will say putting all of your clothes in a big pile is serious shock value and makes for good television. Okay, your 4th takeaway is folding and storage tips. So if you're familiar with the Konmari Method, there is this concept that if you fold your clothes, what I call file folding, have them sticking upright in your drawer, that it maximizes space. And also you can see what you have. I started using this method after reading her first book. I love it. It's great, and I do encourage all of my clients to use their space that way. There are some folding demonstrations in the show. I think she does t-shirts, socks, a hoodie at one point. But if you want a more detailed illustration, I would recommend getting the Spark Joy book, because this actually has illustrations of the folding method. So in the book, there are examples of folding long sleeve tops, oddly shaped tops, camisoles, sweaters, jeans, shorts. Okay, so for storage, she almost exclusively uses her set of boxes. So you'll see her come in with a bag or a kind of a box filled with boxes. And when you get that concept of putting things upright or storing things vertically, you understand that you'll need a box to kind of contain things together. And she just says it makes your drawers look happier and just more organized. So I went on her website to look up how much these boxes would cost or if they're even available. And believe it or not, they're sold out. And a set of these boxes is $89. So I wanted to take a minute and just show you some alternatives to that since they're sold out anyway. And $89 is a little steep for some cardboard boxes. So I've got some other options here. One of my favorite things is a technology box. Like this one is from a cell phone, or anytime you get Apple products, they usually come in a nice square box. So this is completely free. And that's a nice size box. And then you may have things that are just around the house. Like this one actually came from a food storage, had a bag of pasta in it or something, but you could definitely use that and put that in a drawer and store some smaller items. And then something really simple is a shoebox. And this is great for taking, t-shirts, or when you're just starting to use the folding method, you can use this box, keep it handy, and just fold your items in, and it'll keep them nice and upright. Because if you just open the drawer and put in one folded t-shirt, it's just going to flop down and, well, I guess it should stand upright if you're using the right method, but it's nice to kind of tighten it up a little bit. And you can just remove that top. So there's a free box. Cover that maybe with some contact paper, make it a little prettier. The fifth and final takeaway from the show is something that she'll repeat quite often, which is to focus on your own things. There's a mom in one of the episodes, and she really wants to be very hands-on with everything as far as where things are being put away. And but what happens is her family constantly has to bug her about where is this, where is that. And so with everyone focusing on their own things and putting their own things away and tidying and decluttering their own things, one benefit is they're going to know where things are and not necessarily bug one person in the family about where is my stuff. I can't find my stuff. And I really love in episode 1, just as she's doing her introduction, she talks about focusing on what matters most. And I love that because that is step 1 in my home organizing roadmap, which you can get a free copy in the link below. And that is going to be different for every member of the family. So what matters most to hubby may not matter the most to mama. And so each individual really needs to figure out what is important in their space, in their life, and then organize their things accordingly. So I know I get asked a lot, how do I organize my husband? How do I organize my mom? How do I organize my kids? So what you'll learn in this series is that they need to organize themselves, and it's definitely a family affair. And what's pretty cool about each of the episodes, even though there are tears, maybe a little bit of fighting, a lot of exhaustion. I'm not sure these people sleep much during those 30 days because they all keep talking about how they're staying up late and they're really exhausted. But it does seem that at the end of the process, their homes are much tidier. They seem happier. People are getting along better. They have more energy. So definitely seems worth it. So if you love the show and want to learn more about the process, I do recommend getting the Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up and also the companion book, Spark Joy, which has more illustrations in it about the folding process. So take the time to review all of your possessions with enthusiasm and joy. So have you tried the Konmari Method? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel for more videos on downsizing, minimizing, organizing, and decluttering. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.